Hey guys, Reynolds here. Today we're going to be doing a 540 commentary. So let's first go over invocations quickly, then downgrades on gear. We'll be talking about that for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with the actual raid commentary. But I will put a timestamp in the description in case you guys want to skip right ahead to the raid. These are the invocations right over here. Hardcore, walk for it, no help needed, walk the path, Pathfinder, typical stuff. Pathfinder is something you only really want to take 500 plus, so that's where we are now. And then everything else, quiet prayers on dehydro, pretty standard stuff for 450 plus. Overly draining, I only recommend this past 525. So if you plan on not taking overly draining, which it depends on your setup. If you don't have full Torva, then and you don't have Desert Treasure 2 rings, then I would recommend Camp Lightbearer and turn this off and downgrade to 525. That works too. Don't forget DDS for core, of course. And then you are going to want every single boss invocation other than Medic. Feel free to practice Double Trouble, Akkha, and all that stuff by yourself on a lower invocation if you need practice on those mechanics. We're going to go over some more advanced tactics for the high-level raider who I hope knows what they're doing by this point, but we'll go over as much as we can. 5-1 Baba, a lot of people aren't familiar with. Essentially, you need to know how to use Baba as the red X. You cannot use a potion, cannot use the crystal, and that will restrict your timing under Baba to only 3 ticks underneath for a total. 1 going underneath, 1 walking out. The last one is walking out and being able to attack 3 ticks total. If you aren't familiar with it, please watch Milko Kirby's Red X guide. Essentially, what we're going to do is Red X until we're going to start losing ticks. You know you're losing ticks when you're kind of hitting while walking out of Baba at that same time. Any further Red X after that is going to result in tick loss. We are then going to reset. Instead of taking that tick loss and continuing a 6 tick cycle, we're gonna reset Baba cycle either by stepping under her very last second to offset her tick, or by doing a super drag, which can be useful and I personally like doing instead because I like keeping it moving and it's good for like dodging sarcophagus and dragging her to the bottom and stuff like that. If you want to keep it simple, we'll do both methods and we'll show them around. Just whichever is easier for you works. As for blowpipe, feel free to take away this anguish and this web weaver and take a assembler and blowpipe. You might be wondering, Reynolds, are those eternal boots in your inventory? I thought you hated those. I still do, but at some point they might be buffing them, and I found out some very cursed knowledge as well. If you're going to be hitting an average of 13 on your circle, which you are, hopefully, and you take eternal boots, this setup is actually pretty much as good as a full 8-way switch, 8-way range switch, assuming you hit an average of an 18 bone dagger. I have done the math extensively. If you don't take Venator Ring, this setup is strictly better on average. If you do take Venator Ring, the range setup is a whole 4.5 seconds faster on your average Zebak, but you know how Bone Dagger, you have to run up to Zebak and hit him first, right? That's a Tbow hit you lost. That 4.5 seconds is actually only 1.5 seconds. And do you know what happens if I simply want to put my Tumikin Shadow on accurate? It's only 3.5 seconds. So if you want to take an extra 3 range switches to save half a second, by all means, go ahead. But I don't care about the extra 1 or 2 shots you might save on P2. So realistically, you're only saving like at best like a second for the entire extra range setup you should bring. So I wouldn't recommend it. If you are lacking a little bit of strength, like Torva, Infernal Cape, Sapphire Cape, whatever, bring an Elder Maul if you are still doing 540s. If you need to, if you absolutely need to, and like you have a very similar setup, but you know, you don't have Torva, then maybe bring an Elder Maul and even a Gmaul. That stuff might be the key just to barely break that 3 down threshold for you. You don't need an Inquisitor's Mace at all. Inquisitor's Mace is purely QOL for the extra 2 prayer points. Rapier and Blade of Saeldor have the same max hit, so feel free to do that. But absolutely, you do want Desert Treasure 2 completed for the Altar Ring and the Magus, because without this stuff, this strategy does fall apart. Now, if you are bringing Eternal Boots and all that stuff, and you're going down to 6 restores, you don't need to be a Flick God at all to do this setup. Absolutely not, actually, because the extra hack we found out was that going power into life and dropping to 123 magic does not affect your max hit for Major Zebak. You will still be able to hit an 84 at 124 magic and 123 magic, and that's going to be an extra 30 minutes of preserve basically of times you're going to be hitting 120, sorry, hitting 84. And we're going to also, of course, extend that logic over to Warden P3/P4. If you are going a little bit slower, feel free to turn on Preserve for that ending too. Let's go ahead and pot up with the setup. We're going to showcase also a new KephrI method. I found that doesn't require blowpipe. It is a little bit delicate, but once you've got it down, it's really clean, really fun to do. And I think knowing 5-to-1 Baba plus this new KephrI method makes the previously 2 most boring rooms for me a lot more fun. They are now my favorite rooms of ToA instead of my most hated. Put the Eternals just next to the circle because you don't really touch it until Akkha at least. It doesn't even actually save time for Akkha, so maybe just put it on for Zebak and Warden. For this pickup, don't equip your Avernick right away. Don't do that. Now for this wave, feel free to mage. And then hide from the shaman. Get your melee gear ready. If you can, you almost usually can, you can melee one of them and then set up the volatile. And then as soon as the volatile stops, go ahead and melee the other thrower. Free mage. If possible, go for the mages first, because you know they're low HP and you want to proc the next wave as soon as possible. While the next wave spawns, kill the baboon. Sometimes you'll get a shaman this wave, so if you do, make sure to lure one of the volatiles over. Don't do that. Now, I'm not going to risk the puzzle here. Now, I could have risked the puzzle, yes. But I always go for the lower risk option of setting up the puzzle first, rather than greeting. For this wave, always kill this ranger first. He always is the only person who can do chip to you, chip damage, so take care of him quick. With Web Weaver, you also can make it very easy to set up stacking with, you know, chins like that. Could have been a little bit cleaner with the descending, especially. Chinning the shaman versus the thralls doesn't really matter. So shaman's always the easier because it's the central target. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is go ahead and stab Baba, and then move a tile. Sorry, stab him, hit, move a tile, and then go under. And then we'll be able to do 2 step unders to start. Now you see, I'm going to hit as I come out. This means from now on, all red X's like I'm doing now are now tick loss. So you can reset Baba by doing a simple step under last second like that, and then do 2 fangs. And then you can reset the cycle just like that. Now, alternatively, once we are starting to lose ticks, which is going to be the step under after this, watch. Boom. See, watch if I red X again, I'm going to start losing ticks. You can actually repeat this cycle, and once you're ready to step out, you'll just do a step, you know, do some drags like that. That's like one way to do it, although I think I lost ticks for that. Slow Shadow is a 7-tick attack instead of a 6-tick. So just make sure you like move before you do it. Now, it's a 5-to-1 Baba in the sense that you're always doing 5 of your attacks to 1 of Baba's. Now, that 1 of Baba's is not always necessarily a melee attack from Baba. It can just be, you know, like a slow shadow. So you can even like potentially say it's like a 8-to-1 average, you know? So we're gonna start losing ticks now. So we'll go ahead and do a drag. And we'll pray melee last second. For rock throws, just delay yourself 1 hit. If it's gonna be a melee after the rock throw, Just do 3 fangs and then move a tile is the easiest way, just like you did with the bone dagger. So you see I'm going to start losing ticks here. We'll go ahead and reset, go into a 5-to-1. With slow shadow, remember, you're going to be just like bone dagger and hit. And go under. We'll do only 2 step unders instead of the usual 3. You can do a drag, or you could have, you know, sat right under the hoop. Up to you. If you're bored, feel free to, you know, web weaver, blow pipe a baboon. Extra points is extra points, you know. Now here, it's up to you what you're comfortable with. Baba's attack speed goes up significantly, so the pattern is a bit different. I recommend whenever Baba melees you, right? Watch the hit splat on you. If it does slow shadows, just do a fang. Just do a bunch of fangs, and then on the last fang, you can kind of like do a similar cycle to P1 and P2. You know, 3 step unders. But this time, don't move and don't reset the cycle. If it throws a rock, you know, obviously run there. Let's watch for Baba's melees. A tick after that 0 goes away, whatever she hit you with, that's when you can go under her. And you can essentially set up a 2-to-1 just like that. A tick after that 0 goes away, we're gonna go under her. If she does slow shadows, we're just gonna do 3 fangs, go under, and essentially do a 6-to-1. Now, that's a pretty fast time if you ask me, for showcasing and purposely losing a lot of ticks, showcasing you like when to go under. So I think that's a pretty good demonstration of the benefits of 5-tick Baba. Most people don't go that fast. Small tip, you can start that puzzle as soon as you see it go on 4, because you know it'll go on 5 by the time you start. Let me go ahead and join a party so I can ping for Kefri how we're gonna be playing out this order. So I like to have my quick prayers on ranged and piety, but it doesn't matter too much. Try to solve going like toward the next puzzle. So you see I'm gonna tap green, tap dark blue, and I'm gonna tap yellow next because it's going toward the next puzzle, if you know what I mean. The last ending, sometimes you'll just get unlucky and you'll have to path away, but you know, general purpose time save right there. Now, if you want to, go ahead and uncharge your shadow, but you're not actually gonna def charge here. You can just get it out of the way. We're gonna do some simple fanging. We're gonna place our first stun right here. Now, you do need to be kind of... You can theoretically place these in the wrong order, but the reason the order is important is for your stamina regeneration. And we're gonna click up, and then click Kefri. Second order is gonna be placing it right here. Now, if you have good strength gear, you're going to be praying that this is level 3 Kefri, because you actually don't want to deal too much DPS. We do absolutely need to wait to get a second dung wall, so if you're, you know, cracked and stabbing, be really mindful not to, you know, phase Kefri into the next phase until you've placed that second dung wall. Be careful of the egg here. Standard regen's not too important right now. So watch Kefri's HP carefully. Make sure we're not hitting it before it places that second dung wall. 60 is fine. Max is going to be 51 anyway. Place the second one and then go ahead and fang it. Get ready to stand there with prey ranged and melee this guy. Okay, it's time. Melee him once right away and then move backwards. Pray melee. Melee again. Chins and rigor. Keep on the Torva, keep praying melee. And if you've done it right and you walked back there, the ranger can't see you on this side, right? Perfect, that's exactly what we want. Because now we can now chin these swarms against our meleeer. I like to skip one of the swarms on the east side around here. And then if done correctly, now I did miss a swarm. If done correctly, you'll have this guy at roughly 210 HP with a near dead meleeer. Now, this step is really important. Make sure you're prey ranged. and get ready to set up a second range trap right over here. Sometimes you'll be noodling. Make sure at all costs you set that up. Otherwise, the second ranger will be, you know, free to do whatever he bids. Go ahead and proc Kephree if need to. Dung here again while praying ranged. And then go on the arcane. Now I've updated these tile markers down here. If you go past these markers, you're gonna get ranged, so be really careful. Don't greet this meleeer. Go ahead and start on this arcane early if need be. Make sure you stand at least here. If you don't, that ranger is gonna be able to see you later on if you go in this area. It's more efficient to go to this area slightly. Not a huge big deal if you don't, but it is pretty important. Remember, don't attack here. That is in range of the ranger. Now we're gonna pray range, and we're gonna face tank this guy. You can lazy flick piety to say some prayer. I highly recommend dunging here first, and you're gonna see the fruits of our labor. Go ahead and attack Kephree. Now we're gonna start dunging here. If you want to, control click is a good way to save stamina if you are concerned about it. But typically, if you're about 40 to 35, 30-ish stamina, you should be good to go. I just do a few walks if I'm very confident, but I don't really hard focus on it too much. Get ready for Kephree to dung you again on the east side. And then, as you're ready, pray rigor and chin the clump. If you're chinning it while running, you're going to be bouncing it off this southwest tile of Kephree, which is actually going to damage Kephree. Since chins roll off accuracy of whatever you're aiming at, and these agiles have next to no defense, you're essentially chinning Kephree just like you would be chinning Armadillo. You're taking advantage of the low defense minions. Now obviously don't do it if your Fang just like got a fresh hit and you don't have to ticks, but... Now, you might be thinking, hey Reynolds, what if my Blood Fury isn't really healing me and I'm getting chipped down by this guy, these little 3 and 4s? All you need to do is take a quick step back when you're at 9 HP. Right about here, this line. Oh, good example. And then pray Redemption. The Agiles will proc a Redemption for you, and they can't kill you. It's obscenely unlikely that they kill you. And don't be greedy about your restores. You just need to make it to the final chest, remember, with this amount. I swear I didn't get hit on purpose to show that off, but it kind of worked out for demonstration purposes. Alternatively, you can, you know, pop your combat at 19, Divine Combat. If done correctly, level 3 Kephree should always be faster than 525, but I've had as fast as 434 so far on a level 3. Don't unload the bag yet. You definitely want to keep that. If you're not 99 on mining, this is a good time to spec. I forgot anyway. I always spec because I don't like worrying about timing. And I'm very willing to, you know, drop an adrenaline dose for Akkha in case I make mistakes early in order for my son. Nice and safe, but completely up to you. If you're doing Power Life, I highly recommend your adrenaline doses be Akkha P4 into Zebak, and then just at P1. I also have some YouTube shorts if you want to see some more a 5-to-1 Baba. Glacy2 also has a video on 5-to-1 Baba as well. But I heard, I'm not sure if this is right, that Milgo Kirby might be making one too. Now we have a 10-way switch, unfortunately. Don't forget, you have Depth Charge available. Do treat yourself like a human. Have Depth Charge available, because if you don't, and you make mistakes somewhere midway and you don't have the spec to Adrenaline Sun or just Sun straight up, you're gonna regret it. So just have your, you know, drop the ego and have your soul runes ready. For transitioning, if you hit on this north side, I recommend walking up like that, hitting, clicking here, attacking, waiting a tick, and then boom. On the reverse side, if you do end up proccing the reverse way, you can just move down here and click this and then this manually, and you actually don't need to wait any ticks. And you might think, like, why are you nerding out over a tick? Because sometimes, you know, that tick will just be just a nice difference to get an extra shadow in. That's like the most skill expressive way you can honestly play Akkha, unfortunately. Is just making sure you don't lose as many ticks as you can, because you might be able to squeeze in some more. For this one, you know, just be really careful. If you're... I don't really have any amazing tips on, you know, knowing the mechanic, because it's just simply knowing the mechanic, but getting to the center is... Careful here. This is a good transition here and here. Manual path. I clicked the tick too early, but that's really how I like to path that. But the way I like to path on Double Trouble is I always click center no matter what. I don't even think about it. I don't care where I am. I click that. I always click, you know, the center of my current quadrant. If I happen to be about, if like an orb is gonna spawn there and if I'm gonna step on it, I'll make a quick turn here or here. And for sure, I'll make it. Like, I'll be safe. And then I'll just play out the mechanic from there. Or you can click this, and then click this. That's also a perfect way to do it. I don't know why I'm starting this quadrant, but I'm already committed to doing it, I guess. Did lose a hit. I could have hit Akkha there, but I was not very confident that it would actually kill. Go ahead and fix this up. Now, if there's a remote chance Akkha might switch sometime soon, you know, within like the next 30 seconds, I recommend just putting on the prims. I think I'm safe for a little bit longer. I think right about now. And if you're like kind of sure Akkha might be switching soon, or has a potential to switch, put on Piety a little early and get ready to switch to your Fang. Because, you know, you might be able to get a cheeky stab in. Looks like we're safe for now. And we'll go ahead and finish off Akkha soon. Like I said, we're not really sure when he's going to change, so let's go ahead and put on our prims, put Piety on. Prep yourself mentally for this switch right here. Not needed. And then if you're really high HP, you probably don't need to adrenaline, but oh, it's not counting correctly. We'll do it anyway. If I hit big, I'm probably going to throw a Fang Spec in here. Nice, 502. Pretty good for a level 4 Akkha, if I say so myself. Now we're going to prep our Seer Cult. Now, I heard gear doesn't matter. I just do it anyway, but feel free to not do it. Same thing for, you know, using your prayers. Apparently it doesn't matter, but I do it anyway. I feel like there's no harm as long as I feel like I can handle the switch, you know? I like to use arrow key here, but it's, whatever. As long as you know 32.4, it's pretty much the same thing. Level 3, Zebak, pretty good. Very chill. Now, remember, you can drop to 123, but make sure you're not ever dropping to 122. You're off the salt. But we're good for now. Got a lot of time. 8, a little below average, but not to worry. If you are using Preserve, don't bother doing double flicks, because keeping Preserve on will, unfortunately lower the efficiency of your flicks. Just focus on the offensive, which is what we're going to do here as well, just to keep it consistent. Now at this point, I can probably pretty much hard camp these prayers, because I highly doubt it's going to take more than 2 restores, so I'm pretty much, hard camping. Flicking offensives is always more efficient, because if these high tier offensive prayers, although Augury doesn't really do too much in the grand scheme of things, these cost way more prayer than the defensive prayer. So it's always more efficient to focus on flicking these efficiently than it is to focus on flicking your defensive ones. If you ever do mess up any of these jugs, remember, as long as you have enough spec to Sun or Adrenaline Sun, you can tank the first roar, as long as you make sure your prayer is pretty high, like 80 plus. After you tank the first roar of damage, Sun again, and you will live. It'll be a close call, but you will live. Now, a level 3 Croc is a very nice time save over the other ones, because you can flick at the end, which is really nice. You can flick the prayers. Yep, we're going to be 125 now. It's going to be our last salt, essentially, regeneration, so we'll just put on Preserve now. Nice 84. Wave skips are nice if you don't want to, handle annoying waves like that. But you don't need to know it. If you aren't going to be doing wave skips, be a little bit more prepared and be like closer to the middle. As you see, we're going to be falling to 124. We'll still be able to hit 84, as I said. You can fall up to 123. If you're really sweating about, having max DPS, feel free to go on accurate, but it's not really going to change much. 328. Pretty fast. We're going to go life second. And tap our salt. Put on our rapid heal. I'm gonna tank the 75 and let our rapid heal us a bit. Unfortunately, you can't really pick which supplies come out first. We're gonna be dropping the Nectar and the Ambrosia. The Nectar comes out first, at least, but I believe the Ambrosia comes out third. So if you don't really have many spaces left like I do, you're gonna have to wait a little bit to drop it until after you drink your own restores. Unless you want to like drop it early, but there's not really much point. Now, if you have your, adrenaline here, not too much point to worrying about tick eating or tick regenning, but if you want to know how I do it, I'll stop right here. I wait for the chat to appear. I do 2 shadows. And then when I'm about to do my third, like when I would have done a third, I instead use the sun. That's how I personally time it. Now your offensive prayer actually doesn't really matter here. I don't know why I'm using it, so turn that off. Up to you. If you like using the more central tile, feel free to do that. I like this tile the most. It makes my head a lot simpler, not worrying about, anything next to me. Only worrying about this small area, compared to if I was in the center, I had to worry a little bit, more around me, pay more attention. So I like this area more. Don't forget, if you're lacking on a little bit of your strength right now, do remember to last hit with your Elder Maul, use your Gmauls, or if you don't have a really draining, don't forget to, use DDS and stuff like that. Otherwise, with this setup, you go ahead and AFK and hit this to death. Now, accuracy does matter, which is why you see me taking off the Ferocious Gloves. It's not a huge deal, but all you have to do is put on your Tormented, and you'll be, hitting higher than if you were hitting with Ferocious, even if it's just by 1, so feel free to do that. Theoretically, I could take off the Sanguine and the Primordials, but these are not as bad. Not as egregious. Now, if bombs have already occurred, I typically like to milk my specs a little bit more. But if bombs are upcoming, like they're going to be somewhat soon, I tend to actually just heal a little early, just to rule out the, small chance that I get like bomb into auto attack for like a 60, So let's go ahead and do that. I like to drink the free stuff first, of course. Don't forget to change out thralls. Back in the day, we didn't have to change out thralls, now we do. And to make sure they match what you're hitting with, so mage thrall for this, range thrall for the last one. You can't just camp range and melee anymore. If you want like a somewhat secret tech to save like maybe a second or two, if Warden is basically below 10 HP, use Undead Grasp instead of a shadow attack, because it has lower projectile time. But that doesn't always happen because, sometimes he'll have more HP than that. It's a somewhat uncommon scenario, but one to be kind of aware of if you want to. Now, Circle doesn't actually do much for P3, but you can do it if it makes you feel better. Not gonna bother for now. We are gonna use a little bit. We'll use Mystic Might. Over the entire course of P3, Eternal saves you a whopping 3 seconds. So, not amazing here either. It's mostly really for Zebak and to make yourself feel better about not taking ranged, because ranged is pretty trash. It's kind of like a compromise, I would like for range to be, in my opinion, if you're going to bring Venator Ring, range should be at least 10% better to be like warrant taking all those slots for. But I know plenty of sweaty people who would take it for even like 5%. This is a half decent raid, so we'll go ahead and kill some skulls, see what time we'll get. And by half decent, I'm pretty sure this is going to be my BB, but I think we 6-tick there. And this is why it's important to do your calcs and, reconsider your inventories. The only reason I found out this inventory was like okay-ish is because I knew for a fact that as much as I hated Eternals, they're probably actually worth taking. And someone said Circle is troll, and I was like, I'm taking Circle. I cannot stand someone telling me that my setup is troll. I can stand him telling me it's a little inefficient, but saying it's troll is like, I gotta fact check him a little bit, so. But yeah, feel free to skull skip if you want the drop rate. I kind of just want to see how fast I can go. If I'm not mistaken, skull skip is about 80 seconds faster. Or 80 seconds slower, sorry. Skipping is. Don't forget to put on preserve as your salt's running out. When you're proccing, make sure you're standing all the way in the back, just as usual, because you can kind of sneak a free hit into P4. That free hit might be, you know, some extra time you're not standing in last row. For dodging P4, I like to click Bake Shadows as they appear, and I know they're essentially safe just like that for a few seconds, which just gives you time to, you know, breathe and, you know, hit easy. We'll lose some HP there to take lossless hit there. Once you've properly mastered that timing, you'll also be able to handle last row, because you'll realize clicking Big Shadow into like a medium shadow is the way to go. Oh, sub 32. That's nice. And there you go. Never rewarded. Maybe we'll get our 8th pet. Yeah, that is a good example of a power life setup with Eternals and Circle items we previously thought were Omega Troll.